I made some snarky remarks when the selection process was announced as to who was going to participate in these so called debates, which they're not, with wannabe Democrats in this presidential sweepstakes. And most of the snarky remarks, matter of fact, I think all of them, were about Marianne Williamson, right? I remember Marianne Williamson back in the 80s when she was first making herself known with her peace, love, and justice advocacy. And I thought at the time, okay, she's certainly not saying anything that is offensive, certainly not to me and to most people who heard her 30 years ago. But when I heard I didn't even know she was running for president. When I heard she was going to be on the stage with these other candidates, all of whom are politicians of one sort or another, I thought, well, what's up with that? And, I made some snotty remarks. Well, Republican David Brooks, who is the sort of conservative that I could certainly have dinner with. I don't know if I could um, find too many areas of agreement with him. But in following David Brooks in his column writing, his op-ed writing for the New York Times over the years, there have been several times when I've agreed with what he said, which doesn't make me a traitor to my race. Remember that phrase? It doesn't make me a traitor to my political race at all. In fact, I think it gives me some cred that I will listen sometimes, infrequently, but sometimes to a conservative, especially somebody like David Brooks. Now, I don't agree with him probably 70% of the time, 60% of the time, but so what? I think he would not agree with me 98% of the time. So here we are. But David Brooks wrote about Marianne Williamson, and he said she may have some wacky ideas. And anytime I hear a conservative use the term wacky ideas, that sets off my bullshit detector because to conservatives, most most comments or ideas about the inner human being, about finding balance and peace outside this religious horseshit, um, they immediately label wacky, right? Because they can't get their minds. Conservatives cannot conceive of having inner balance, or even what the term means, or inner peace, or in tune with the cosmos, or any of those new agey kind of phrases that started to pop up in the 60s and 70s and 80s. The average conservative doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about when you say, oh, you're a hippie, which is usually the reaction. Uh, anyway, Brooks starts out by saying she may have some wacky ideas, but she also understands Donald Trump. And she does. And so do you, and so do I. But Marianne Williamson has a way of reaching deep down inside the psychic makeup of human beings and coming up with descriptive phrases and even beyond descriptive phrases and into analysis of how they think, what it means. She's very good at that. I really do believe. But anyway, this is what Brooks wrote. He said, if only Donald Trump were not president, we would have an interesting debate over whether private health insurance should be illegal, which is true. If only Trump were not president, we could have an interesting debate over who was softest on crime in the 1990s. Yeah, okay. If only Trump were not president, we'd have a nice argument about the pros and cons of NAFTA. Okay. But Trump is president. So the election is not about those things. The election is about Trump's insanity and how deeply embedded into the American political body it's become. So Brooks goes on, this election is about who we are as a people, our national character. And if you use Trump as the touchstone of that, we're in a world of shit. I mean, we really are. We really are. And even if you don't use this miserable bastard Trump, if you just look at us, it's not very pleasant. The election, David Brooks says, is about the moral atmosphere in which we raise our children. Yeah. He says Trump is a cultural revolutionary, not a policy revolutionary. He operates and is subtly changing America at a much deeper level. Trump is. This is the part that is so destructive and so worrisome. He's operating at the level of dominance and submission. S&M. At the level of the person where fear stalks and contempt emerges. This is what Trump expresses and brings out. He expresses his own. He's really a fucked up man, but he brings out these lower levels of humanity that the human species, I think, has been trying to overcome through evolution for eons. And we're not doing a very good job of it, but I think on some essential level, human beings understand if we keep this shit up, we're doomed. We're finished. Our species is going to disappear like other species have. If we don't learn how to live together, if we don't learn how to drop the political divisions, I mean globally, if we don't learn that we are a species, we are one, oh fuck, here goes Malloy. We're one species. I don't give a shit if we live in Kazakhstan or Kamchatka or Iceland or Detroit. I mean, you know. And the home the evolution has placed us in is deteriorating. And if we don't come to terms with the oneness, see what I mean about New Agey? If we don't come to terms with the oneness, we're doomed. We're doomed. That's not a philosophical point. That's an observational point based on everything I have learned in my entire life and everything I've observed when I was old enough to critically observe. You know this. I mean, I'm not lecturing. You know this. You know this yourself. So, David Brooks goes on. He, Trump, is redefining what you can say and how a leader can act. American leader. The definition has already been clearly articulated by Hitler, by Mussolini, by Mao, by any terrorist around the planet, or any leader who decides to exterminate Stalin, exterminate millions of people simply because he goddamn can. So Trump is redefining how a leader can act here in America. Brooks says he's reasserting an old version of what sort of masculinity deserves to be followed and obeyed. Could you follow or obey Donald Trump? Millions of people can and do. The Christians are so severely fucked up that their leadership is calling him a gift from God. That's how fucked Christianity has become. That's all you need to know about contemporary American Christianity. These sons of bitches say that Trump is the greatest gift God ever gave this country. Now, if that's not fucked, you tell me what is. In Freudian terms, Brooks points out, Trump is operating on the level of the id. The id. That uncontrollable, just run this way, run that way, destroy this, stomp on that, jump on that, fuck that, destroy that, burn that, blah! That's Trump. In Thomistic terms, he is instigating a degradation of America's soul. Damn, is that the truth? A degradation. What did I heard on NBC News tonight that the level of reported depression among Americans, not just teenagers, adults, young adults, old adults, the levels of depression and anxiety are increasing exponentially. More and more people are feeling this. And that's irrespective of whatever upsetting or depressing things are happening in our individual lives. This is an overarching feeling of depression. Thanks to this pig. Brooks goes on, we're all subtly corrupted while this guy is our leader. And throughout this campaign, the 2020 campaign, he will make himself and his values the center of conversation. Every day he will stage a little drama that is meant to redefine who we are, what values we lift up, and who we hate. And then Brooks points out something that not only do I completely agree with. So I told you there are times when I feel like he's writing my thoughts. Not only do I completely agree with what I'm about to share with you that he wrote, but I've felt this way for a number of years. Here's what he said. The Democrats have not risen to the largeness of this moment. They don't know how to speak on this level. They don't even have the language to articulate what Trump represents and what needs to be done. Anybody like me can call him a stupid fuck all day long, over and over, like I have done, like I do. And that he's a racist and a pig and a son of a bitch and whatever term. Yeah, I've been saying that for 2 years. To what effect? Nothing. Nothing. Brooks writes, part of the problem is that the two leading Democratic idea generators are both materialistic wonks. They are Elizabeth Warren. These are the idea generators. Elizabeth Warren, a social scientist from Harvard Law, who has a plan for everything except the central subject of this election, which is both cultural and moral. And Bernie Sanders has been a dialectical materialist all his life and is incapable of adjusting his economics-dominated mindset. That's the thing about Bernie that just, I was such a Bernie fan during the run-up to the 2016 election, but I swear to God, can he not go beyond these narrow parameters? Not that I disagree with what's within those parameters, the things he always argued about, Medicare for all and free college and this, and I agree, fuck Bernie, I agree! Now, could you address the other issues that are so pertinent to the survival of this country? Quick answer, no, he can't. Which doesn't mean he's a bad man, it just means he can't. He's a dialectical materialist, period. Stop. That's it. And a president has to be more than that. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. You have your choice. You can listen to the ranting with the audio podcast or listen and watch me lose control with a video podcast subscription. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.